President, I concur with everything our distinguished assistant leader has said. Mr. President, we're in the middle of the most devastating public health crises in modern history. And the American people are paying a terrible price. Nearly 220,000 Americans have died in just 10 months. To put that in perspective, that's significantly more than the number of Americans who died in the Korean, the Vietnam, the Iraq, and the Afghanistan wars combined, all of them. Remember when President Trump called himself a war president? President Trump said he's a war president. Well, has he acted like one? No. He called the virus a hoax. He's been AWOL ever since. Millions have lost their jobs. They're struggling to make ends meet. People are being evicted from their homes. They're living in their cars, in shelters, or on the streets. They're relying on the generosity of others, and the virus is still not remotely under control. The need for another comprehensive emergency funding bill to address the COVID crisis is obvious. It's urgent, has been for 5 months, and what's the Senate doing? Staging show votes on COVID relief bills that the majority leader himself has said will go nowhere, and then they go back on their word, what both the majority leader and the chairman of the Judiciary Committee said a year ago, as they try to rush through the nomination of a Supreme Court justice less than 2 weeks before the election, after millions of Americans have already voted. So what are their priorities? I know where mine are. They're with the families of the 220,000 Americans who have lost their lives to this virus. They're with the thousands of Vermonters, the millions more across our nation who have lost their jobs during this pandemic. They're with the small business owners trying to stay afloat during this crisis. They're with the fathers and mothers who are wondering if they'll be able to pay next month's rent or put food on the table. They're with the children struggling to learn through Zoom calls and online classes. So it's a national disaster, and it requires real solutions. We need a comprehensive bill to address this problem. We can't do it with fig leaves or do it piecemeal as Senator McConnell wants to do. We can't pass an inadequate bill today on the chance maybe we'll come back later and do what we should have done to begin with. That's not how it works. Everyone knows that. We have one chance in what remains of this year to get it right. We owe it to the American people, everybody. I don't care whether they're Republicans, Democrats, Independents, to everybody to try. Now, the majority leader staged a show yesterday. He didn't bring up a comprehensive proposal for COVID relief and opening up for debate. He called for a process vote on only one part of it, the Paycheck Protection Program. Well, I support that program. We all do. It's been critical in keeping literally thousands of Vermont small businesses afloat. But take a look at this proposal. It falls flat. It ignores critical improvements of the program that would be made by considering the HEROES Act, expanding access to all nonprofits, making critical access hospitals eligible for PPP, addressing arbitrary caps on various loan programs to help small businesses. More importantly, providing more funding for this program and nothing else wouldn't even remotely solve the problems facing our country. The economy won't come back until the American people have confidence the virus has been vanquished. We need more funding for the PPP program. We all agree on that, but we need to fix that program and do so much more. We have to invest more in testing. It needs to be based on national testing and contact tracing strategy so we can quickly identify cases, isolate those who've been exposed. How many times do we have to say this? We need to develop a vaccine distribution program now so it can be up and running as soon as the vaccine is available. We have to provide personal protective equipment to those on the front lines. We have to ensure our hospitals have their resources. They need to take care of the bill. We need to keep our nursing homes safe and virus-free. So if you do just a target bill aimed at one sector, that's the way to avoid doing what's really needed. And it picks winners and losers at a time when everyone is struggling. No matter how much aid we give to small business or to the airlines or to our struggling restaurant industry, our economy doesn't come back till the virus is under control. So we need a comprehensive bill, not the so-called McConnell skinny bill we're voting on today. provides only $500 billion for COVID relief, less than half of even what the Trump administration proposed just a month ago. Look at the lines at food banks. They've skyrocketed during this crisis, but there's nothing in this bill for nutrition assistance. Look at the millions of Americans who are struggling to pay next month's rent or keep up with their mortgage payments. Notwithstanding the wishful thinking of the president, this is a massive problem, and either the president doesn't know it or he doesn't care. Maybe it's both. 25 million Americans on unemployment compared to just 2 million at the end of January. And the unemployment assistance in this bill is totally inadequate. Nothing in the bill for state and local governments are on the front line fighting this virus. Inadequate money for testing and education, child care, no funding for community health centers, no funding to fight this on a global level. So we're not going to defeat this pandemic if we ignore what's happening outside the United States. Americans can't safely resume international travel, commerce. I mean, I could go on, there's so much that's missing. And so, but what do they put in? Oh, they turn something over to the well-paid lobbyists of corporations by providing sweeping liability shields for corporate wrongdoers who have failed to do their part to keep employers and consumers and patients safe. That tells you everything you need to know about what's in it. A special earmark for big corporations so they can come ahead of a struggling American family. We know it's not going to pass. It shouldn't pass. Let's start working at getting something that can be passed. As Senator Durbin said, the House passed the HEROES bill over 5 months ago. And they passed it again 3 weeks ago. Well, why don't we take it up, vote it up or vote it down? Let's have some votes. Let's make people stand up and say, what are they really, really for? And if we don't, then democracy has failed, the American people have failed.